Good morning, everyone. How are you? I am Terry Warren, as Paul said, and it's my pleasure to be here throughout this conference. I want to thank Patty Strand for inviting the AKC Canine Health Foundation to be a part of this. And I'm excited to share with you how we are creating the best life for dogs through research advancements. How many out there have a dog at home? Yes, so many of us. We're missing our dogs today. How many of you know about the AKC Canine Health Foundation? Well, quite a few of you. That's great. I'm going to give a little history because I think it's important to see where we came from and why we are here creating the best life for dogs. Back in 1995, which really isn't that long ago, a short 16, 17 years ago, the American Kennel Club's Health Committee had the wisdom to recommend that the AKC establish a 501c3 charitable organization with a mission to prevent, treat, and cure canine disease. And the AKC has been a continuous and generous supporter of all the efforts that we do. I am proud to say that during this short period of time, we have been able to fund research and educational programs to the tune of $35 million. The foundation is the largest charitable organization in the world that funds exclusively canine health research. And I suspect that it's many of you in the room that have also dug into your pocketbooks through your parent clubs, through your breed clubs, individually to donate to the efforts that we're doing. I'm going to share with you a brief video that we have just put together through the cooperation with NC State University. They have a beautiful new vet school and hospital there. It's in our backyard. And I thought this would at least set the tone of what we're going to talk about today.
This is the face of unconditional love. If you have a dog, you see it every day. At the AKC Canine Health Foundation, we want what every dog owner wants: for the pets who love us to live longer, healthier lives. To make this happen, we fund research and educational programs. We fund scientific research to help prevent, treat, and cure canine disease. We fund education for things like canine health conferences, veterinary scholarships, clinician scientist fellowships, and more. We fund the research and the programs we believe have the best chance of improving the lives of dogs. Dr. Gana Khan Sen is one of our recipients. She studies neurodegenerative disease in Scottish Terriers.
My entire PhD project has been funded by Canine Health Foundation. It's given me a big opportunity to be trained as a researcher on top of my clinical skills.
So Cody's 5 years old, and you've had Cody how long?
Since March.
Dr. Ed Brightsword has had a long and distinguished career, but its course was changed 2 decades ago by a dog who had a series of unusual ailments: arthritis, skin disease, nosebleeds, then a heart murmur.
It was the first case of anyone in the world ever finding a dog infected with a Bartonella species.
Dr. Brightsword and his team were able to isolate the infectious bacteria, name it, and study it.
That's where I think our research is very important. We're defining organisms that nobody knew existed 20 years ago that are now being shown to be a cause of cardiovascular disease, neurologic disease, and arthritic disease.
With help from the Canine Health Foundation, they're learning how to prevent, treat, and cure these diseases. We also support research into ophthalmology, dermatology, reproduction, and many other areas. Nearly a third of the work we fund has been for canine cancer, and for good reason. Cancer is the #1 disease killer of dogs. But we need your help.
The only way we will ever resolve the unanswered questions to help dogs live longer, happier lives is through medical research, specifically for dogs. And the only way we will be able to do that research is if we have the funds that come through organizations like the AKC CHF.
Our dogs love us unconditionally. They deserve the best health, the best lives we can give them. That's what the Canine Health Foundation is all about. Please help us show our dogs how much they are loved.
It's critically important for dog owners to support canine research because nobody else does.
We can't do it without you. Go to akcchf.org and make a generous donation today.
I was told it was too loud. I would tell you, I was sensitive to the loudness. We have a board member from the AKC Canine Health Foundation with us, Susan Hamill, and I showed this video at our September board meeting, and the sound was so low that no one could hear it. So I got this external speaker so people could hear it, but maybe it was a little loud, so I apologize. We are creating a better life for our dogs through our research. We are focused on providing dogs with the freedom from pain, injury, and disease. And I phrase that in that way in recognition that in a short while we will hear from our keynote speaker, Temple Grandin. And in her writings, she talks about how we should look at the 5 freedoms to enhance the life of all our animals. And today I'm going to concentrate on 3 of those freedoms and how we are enhancing the life of dogs through those freedoms. But I think at first, with this audience, I want to address the stigma of research involving animals. Each one of us should be proud of the research that we are doing and should be prepared to talk to others when they talk about how we shouldn't be doing research that involves animals. I'm a lawyer, and I'm a clinical psychologist. My background and my input into the AKC Canine Health Foundation, people say, how did you come to Raleigh? How did you come to provide some leadership for this organization? It was because of my love for pets. I'm a pet owner, and I've had pets throughout my life. And it's provide the freedom for pain and injury and suffering that I have seen my own companion animals go through. And the tales that I have heard, the stories that I thought, perhaps the expertise that I have can bring to our constituencies, can bring to those individuals that are donating to the Canine Health Foundation a positive stewardship so that they can be assured that there is no stigma for research. Our health research is for dogs. That's the main message that we want to take home. It's not on dogs. It's for our dogs to create a better life for our dogs. The Canine Health Foundation takes it very seriously what research projects it will fund. We have a rigorous process. When we have in our mission statement a sound scientific studies, this goes through a process in which we start for a request for proposals for canine health research. We have a wonderful volunteer, all volunteer, that takes hours of a grant committee members that look at these scientific research proposals. We also take our scientific research proposals out for peer review. And when they are looking at these, they are looking to see that this CH-funded research upholds the guidelines for the care and treatment of animals. That is essential. And every researcher that receives $1 from the Canine Health Foundation must sign these policies that protect our dogs. CHF will not fund research involving disease induction or injury. The disease or injury must occur naturally in the dog. One of the great gifts that our companions have given us is they spontaneously get cancer tumors just like you and I do. They have the same similar diseases, whether it's cardiology, epilepsy. These are naturally occurring in our dogs, and this has to be present. There will be nothing induced in research that we fund. This is health research for our dogs. CHF will not fund research that involves euthanasia. That cannot be an end result of the research that we fund. Now, euthanasia does happen sometimes, but how does it happen? It's as if the dog, just as if it were your dog at home, became gravely ill. And then it's a decision between the pet owner who owns that dog, the veterinarian, to decide if that's the proper course. We get asked a lot of questions about invasive procedures, and our policies are very strict on that. Who's been to the doctor lately? Who had any blood drawn? Who may have had a biopsy, colonoscopy? Anybody in the room? Yeah. This is a minimally invasive procedure. And these are the same minimally invasive procedures that may be part of our research. It's important for the research to draw blood, to get samples, to do a biopsy, but it is minimally invasive. The other part of our research that perhaps the outside critics are not aware of is that every dog that participates in our research are client-owned. That's one of the things that the Canine Health Foundation does. Through its relationship with pet owners, we help our researchers recruit our pet dogs to be part of the research projects for the clinical trials. So each one, and what this does for the research results is that both the pet owner and the pet are in team and concert with the researcher, and they participate to the end, which doesn't always happen in human trials. And the other thing is that many of our studies, our research studies, don't include dogs at all, but they include sample tissues, how many have participated in a health clinic at a dog show that you may have gone to, where you had blood drawn, or you had a cheek swab. We help researchers. A lot of times the researchers come to the dog shows to try to get their samples. And another part of the AKC Canine Health Foundation, I'm not picking on Susan Hamill, but she wears this hat too, is what we have a great relationship with the Orthopedic Foundation for Animals. I'm sure many of you know Eddie Zook, that's done a fantastic job. We have the CHIC, which is the Canine Health Information Center, and part of that is also a DNA depository where we encourage any researcher that is funded by the foundation to share their samples, which isn't always easy to get the researchers to agree, but we have that in all of our policies and in our contracts that the researchers sign. And also, we have people that place the DNA samples there. We also have the CHIC bank. Who has a CHIC number in the room? Okay, so what's a CHIC number for those that don't know? Our purebred dog owners are concerned about the health of their dogs, no matter what other people say, and our dogs are healthy. And it's the parent clubs that say, what are the diseases that these dogs have? And those that have stepped up, and then been many of them, they tell the breeders, they say, these are the diseases that you should look for. You should have your dogs tested for that. And the OFA houses the the bank of data. You can go to their website, you can put in a breed, you can see the tests, and those owners that do participate, then their dog gets a chick number that says they have had the test that their parent club wants them to have for health. So, what is the stigma that purebred dogs aren't healthy? Purebred dogs are healthy, and the diseases that we're going to talk about, all dogs get. It's not because, as our critics would want to say, that it's because they're trying to fix some problem that breeding may have created. Here are some active prevention diseases. Here's another opportunity for those breeders in the audience and those that have contributed to the Canine Health Foundation to give themselves a round of applause. Because of our work, we have 22 genetic tests for canine diseases. These genetic tests make it possible for breeders to make informed decisions to reduce the incidences of canine disease. When you look down this list, it's ordinary disease. It's not like what our critics want to say. A common criticism we get, our supporters and the dog fancy here. Canine health research is being done to eliminate disease or fix problems. When you look at these diseases and the breeds that the tests were developed for, you could see that that just is not the case. Let's take, for example, progressive retinal atrophy. And I talk about PRA because it's very different in very different breeds. The genetic mutation is not associated with the trait that breeders have specially bred for. And now there are genetic tests available. Also on this list, there's a genetic test for night blindness in Briards. I talk about this one because this has another huge achievement that we have through canine health research. We have a genetic test that can now eliminate night blindness in the Briards, but in addition, we now have a treatment for humans because of this research. And yes, and night blindness is eliminated with this treatment. Our newest genetic test is for cleft palate. And I'd like to talk about our researcher a little bit, Dr. Danica Banishnik. And she's from the University of California at Davis. And she received funding from the AKC Canine Health Foundation to identify the genes responsible for cleft palate. And Dr. Banish, she is one of us. She's a member of the fancy. And she has taken her love and her understanding, and she was able to identify a gene responsible for cleft palate. So why did I pick the cleft palate? Because the emphasis and theme that I want to talk about today is we are developing research advancements that are providing our dogs freedom from pain, injury, and disease. And you all know if a puppy is born with a cleft palate, there is enormous problems with getting proper nutrition, opportunity to develop pneumonia, and to be able to eliminate this with a test, which is now available through the Orthopedic Foundation of Animals, is research that is working to help our dogs. And the research that she has done, she has now been able to take the monies that she has received from the Canine Health Foundation, done an original project, developed a genetic test, and NIH now has given her additional funding to look at other areas in the cleft palate. As I said, research for dogs is also helping humans. And what do I mean by that? The Canine Health Foundation was known in the beginning with primarily doing genetic research. We are proud to say that originally we funded to the tune of $2.8 million the original mapping of the canine genome. NIH took the project over for an additional $49 million, and in 2004, the canine genome was completely mapped. And what did we find? Most of you know that we found that that dog that we love, that's our companion, that people say, look, it looks like us. Well, guess what? It does look like us. Genetically, that dog looks 85 to 90% just like you and I. And that has been a tremendous boost to what we are calling translational medicine, and where the research that we are doing for our canines, and vice versa, the research that we're doing on humans, is benefiting both. The genetic similarities, our shared environment, the natural occurring disease models that we share, has provided us a rapid opportunity to look at certain diseases. Are we excited that we're doing canine health research? Do you see the benefit? Is there a stigma to research on dogs? No, because it's not on dogs. It's for dogs. And it's for dogs, helping dogs live a longer, healthier life. So what have we done with this $35 million? What are some of the research advancements that we can be proud of? The first I'm going to talk about is a case about non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. There's a little girl named Peyton and a dog named Dutch that has benefited from our research. I'll try to play this little vignette.
The exact same kind as 7-year-old Peyton's.
Yeah.
Peyton's meeting Dutch today because, incredibly, they're both being treated at MD Anderson Cancer Center. And the cutting-edge treatment he's getting could help kids like Peyton.
The dog's like their little cancer partner.
Dutch is one example of sort of a brave new world that these dogs are blazing for us.
You can really take a dog who has cancer and learn something about a human with the same type of cancer?
Absolutely.
Yes. Remember how 1 dog year equals 7 human years? That's a huge advantage researchers have in studying cancer in pets, because you can learn much faster if the treatment is working.
His prognosis wasn't very good. He only had 6 weeks to live with that diagnosis.
6 weeks?
6 weeks.
And how long has he lived?
He's now close to 6 months.
Dr. Terry Fossum created a registry to link sick dogs with clinical trials.
They don't have to create disease in animals. They can use these animals that have gotten the disease naturally, and they are going to be more predictive models.
And even the National Cancer Institute is supporting dog-to-human research at 20 centers. Hundreds of dogs helping us study everything from melanoma to bone cancer.
We could use the same types of immune-based therapies that we want to apply for humans and understand whether or not they work in the dog. It's a win-win.
Roll over. An even bigger win for patients like Peyton.
Thank you, Dutch.
Dr. Richard Besser, ABC News, Houston, Texas.
And we're so happy to report Peyton and Dutch are doing very well tonight.
And I'm happy to report that here's a live example, that the research that we're doing is prolonging the life of Dutch and prolonging the life and putting in remission non-Hodgkin's disease for Peyton. Our goal in our research and in our clinical trials is to improve quality of life and not just the length of life. For those of you that are concerned about dogs being involved in clinical trials, I'm happy to report that dogs actually tolerate chemotherapy very well, better than most humans. Dogs usually do not experience the hair loss and appetite loss normally associated with chemotherapy for people. Here's Toby. Toby is really a 2009 story, but I like to still talk about Toby. Toby's owner was going on a big trip, and before she went, she felt along Toby and found some lumps. And sure enough, she took Toby to the vet, and Toby had lymphoma. He was treated, and 3 days later, the swelling on the sides of Toby's head was gone, and he was running around like a puppy, even though he was 3 months short of 12 years old. and Toby lived to 14 years with treatment. Clinical trials give us access to cutting-edge medicine. I highlight what we're involved in today. Hemangiosarcoma. Who has had a dog with hemangiosarcoma? Well, you all know that this is basically a death wish. The dog will not live long after that diagnosis. Today, I can only report that that's still the case, but we are doing cutting-edge research, and we have developed the first antibody libraries in dogs, which may be the first step in finding a novel treatment. Research is about research advancements. There are small increments of success stories. People say, $35 million, where's your cure? What have you done? There isn't a cure, but there is improvement. Dogs are living longer lives, and we are learning more. It's step by step. We did have one, we've had many, but a success in the cancer area. Cheryl London did some research for us in mast cell tumors, and the result of her research actually developed the first cancer treatment for dogs in the drug called Palladia. So we have a lot of success stories. Osteosarcoma. We are involved in early clinical trials of the anti-Servian vaccines, and they are currently underway. Malignant histiocyte. These are tumors all around the body. Researchers have shown positive results, although the results have varied. The treatment caused the regression of the tumors, which previous treatment had failed. We're making strides in bladder cancer. There are treatment options for previously untreatable forms of bladder cancer because of the clinical trials. This is a partnership of the pet owner, the pet, the researcher, and the veterinarians. If anyone questions you, these are people that are willingly participating and seeing a huge benefit. I want to read to you what one of our pet owners said about the clinical trials that she was involved in with our researcher, Dr. Mark Yamia. I hope that more breeders and pet owners will become involved in allowing their dogs to participate in research. Some people may think that the dogs will become nothing more than lab rats. Nothing could be further from the truth. Some of the studies involve nothing more than providing blood samples and information about your dog. For the studies involving drug trials, every precaution was taken with my dogs. They were closely monitored, and their safety was always put first. At no time did I feel that my beloved pets were at risk from the drugs being tested. Participating in the research studies also allowed my dogs to be more closely monitored and cared for more than I ever would have been able to afford. That's my selfish reason for participating in the studies, and I was happy to be able to contribute something to working towards my dogs and all dogs living longer, healthier lives. To me, it was priceless. And we get more and more comments. I have so many letters and correspondence from people who have participated and just feel that it was a gift for them and for their dog to be able to be part of it. I've tried to pick common diseases that all dogs get, but this is a special case study. That little dog up there is mine. That's Madison. She's a little Havanese, and I think I'm a pretty good mom, and I love her dearly. I've had her for 7 years. But she's had gum disease, and gum disease is the most commonly diagnosed disease in dogs. And I could see her suffer, and I could see her go through the pain. I brushed her teeth. I had special prescription solution for her water from my veterinarian. But the bacteria just grew back faster and faster than we could control. We are funding research today, and this is at the University of Glasgow. We fund research all over the world, and we're looking at different bacteria And hopefully from the results of this study, we will have vaccines to prevent periodontal diseases and improve methods of treatment so that we can create freedom from physical pain and disease from periodontal disease. Urinary incontinence. If you have a well-trained dog, house-trained dog, and your dog begins to suffer from urinary incontinence, this is emotionally distressful for the dog as well as for the owner. It's not just an inconvenience. It can lead to serious bladder and kidney infections. In addition to irritation, we are funding research. We recently funded a research study at North Carolina State University to evaluate regenerative medicine for the treatment of incontinence. The dog's own muscle cells are isolated and grown in a culture, then injected back into the muscles that control the urethral sphincter. We hope that this will help urinary incontinence. Now I'm going to shift a little bit. I've tried to give you some examples in having the theme of freedom from physical injury and disease to another freedom, which our guest speaker, Temple Grandin, will talk about in a little while. Another freedom that she talks about is a freedom to express normal behavior. And because of our living situations and our environment, a lot of our dogs don't have the opportunity to participate in their normal behavior. And so we see so many more dogs now that are participating in agility. There's our hunting dogs, in flyball, all kinds of things to get them out. And the AKC has reported that there's just been a whole surge and increased participation in agility. And so what we're looking at, and we started this new initiative in July, we kind of launched it in concert with the London Olympics this year, and looking at the Canine Athlete Initiative is what we're calling it. How many of you are kind of weekend warriors? You're going to take that run this weekend, and then what happens on Monday morning? Your back might hurt a little bit, maybe you sprained your leg, you're off to sports medicine, maybe to go visit that physical therapist to find out what's going on. Well, there's a whole new emerging field in sports medicine for our dog, and we are launching a special request for proposals in this area to help our canine athletes. I'm going to show this little video. Now, in this video is Samantha Wright, and some of you might know her name. She is our program director she deals with most of the health liaisons and the parents clubs talking about research. This is her Felton, her German short hair, and she's beginning to take him through agility. His paces there are a little slow, but anyone that's been through agility knows that these dogs can race through those tracks and potentially injure themselves. But before that, we also want to make sure that we are studying about the proper nutrition that our dogs will need that are canine athletes, the proper hydration, so that we can make sure that they are participating as in an environment that is most conducive for them to be injury-free. Our Canine Athlete Initiative is going to center in 4 key areas of concern: bone biology and disease, musculoskeletal biology and disease, osteoarthritis, and pain management. And we will be doing our first request for proposals on elbow dysplasia and what we know as rotator cuff injuries in people, similar in dogs, to further veterinary sports medicine. Another part of the Canine Athlete Initiative is pain management. Yes, our dogs suffer from pain, and this is an emerging area of concern. pain management. And I have a quote up here which I kind of like to read because I think it captures the importance of pain management. This is a statement by the American Animal Hospital Association and the American Association for Feline Practitioners in Pain Management, that incorporating pain management into veterinary practice helps everyone. It benefits the patient through improved quality of life and reduced complications. It benefits clients through enhancement of the human-animal bond. And it also benefits the healthcare team through increased safety, improved morale, pride, and job satisfaction. And it also creates a less stressful environment. So one of the things that we're going to be emphasizing in the whole sports medicine canine athlete initiative is pain management and where that fits in. The third freedom that Temple talks about is freedom from fear and distress. And canine compulsive disorder is an area that we are studying to determine what are some of the causes of CCD. We have recently funded a project at the University of Florida. I'm sure some of you may have seen a dog endlessly chase its tail or endlessly dig in the ground. In fact, if the behavior can't be stopped, they can injure their whole paws, they can injure their tail, they can become they can become dehydrated, and in some ways, a dog that suffers from CCD can actually cause themselves harm, which can lead to death. So the researchers who will conduct the experiments in the CCD will be investigating individual behavior tendencies and some of the environmental factors. So I've talked about some research advancements. We have so many others. I could have talked about cardiology, epilepsy, I could have talked about infectious disease, but I chose those which have a commonality for all dogs. And I'd like to end today in talking about some other work that we're doing to create a better life for dogs. I thought it was apropos. Tomorrow's Veterans Day, and we at the Canine Health Foundation are creating the best life for our working dogs. We've been involved for the past 10 years. We've funded nearly $500,000 in support for the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine for the dogs that were involved in 9/11. We involved 95 dogs. Now think about it. How many years ago was 9/11? Quite a few. Most of these dogs are gone now. We did have our Parent Club Health Conference last year or 2 years ago, and we had a couple of the rescue dogs, search and rescue dogs that were involved in 9/11 there that participated in our conference. We have a researcher by the name of Cindy Otto, who has been the principal research investigator in this search and rescue dog work. Dr. Otto, and she's very proud of this, that's a picture of Dr. Otto there. She was presented with an American flag flown in Afghanistan in recognition of her commitment to the health of the working dog. She has dedicated her research to this. She has looked at how much rest the working dog needs. When do their eyes need to be flushed? What's the proper training, hydration? These dogs, they go out into dangerous situations many times before the troops come in to sniff out and see. They're working side by side with our soldiers and with our firemen and with our policemen. And we owe it to these dogs to know best how they can live healthy. The culmination of this work is now there's been an opening of what is known as the Pet Vet Working Dog Center. And this Penn Vet Working Dog Center is going to act as a clearinghouse of all the research that is being done around the world to promote the health of our dedicated search and rescue dogs. The future demands this facility will reach. They'll look at dog breeding and training programs and implement tests and disseminate the knowledge that's gained from this. One new area that we're looking at is post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, I'm sure you all heard of post-traumatic stress disorder. Our soldiers, when they come home from the front line, they suffer from it, but so do our dogs. And that's interesting. The work that's been done so far is that there's a relationship. If the handler and the owner, who is chiefly responsible for this dog, is suffering, the dog suffers. If the dog is suffering, the owner will suffer. And so we're looking at how there's an association with the PTSD syndrome and depression and suicide, and how best these two working companions, the soldier and the dog, the fireman and the dog, can help each other in looking at this. So, we're creating the best life for dogs. We're creating the best life through research advancements. We're doing this by research for our dogs. We're trying to protect and benefit our dogs through the research. There's been a huge One Health, One Medicine benefit in which veterinarians, medical doctors, scientists are working together to find the answers for many of the common diseases that we share. We are improving the health and well-being of all our dogs. And we thank each one of you that have participated in a clinical trial, that have done a cheek swab or drawn blood, that have donated to the Canine Health Foundation. Because it's together. As we said in the beginning video, it's us in this room that love our dogs, that are dedicated to our dogs, that are going to make the difference through scientific research, helping our dogs and their owners live longer, healthier lives. Thank you.